All right. This is going to be a tutorial covering alert management and action center. So let's go ahead and dive into it. As a note, this is going to be most effective after you already have some hardened devices. So we'll go ahead and enter our tenant. Again, we have the quick access down here, longer access here, but we'll just go ahead and do our quick access. And we can see Action Center has 13 alerts or notifications to check out. So let's go ahead and see what those are. The first example is an endpoint status alarm. You can see we have 0, but what that's indicating to me is all of the machines that are within this tenant are already actively applying hardened policy. If there were any in a setup state or a disabled state, any state that is not actually making changes, it would pop up here with a status alarm so that you know you need to take action before the Senteon instance is actually taking real impact. So let's go into the other option, drift status alarms. You can see here that we have a variety of devices with a variety of drifts. Some say automatic corrective action failed, some say setting drift corrected. The other state that we don't see here is agent is resolving. So let's dive into what these mean. We'll do the first one, admin account status. So you can see on this machine, we have failed to correct the policy. Failing to correct a policy isn't necessarily a horrible thing, because it's creating awareness to a security risk that is actually persistent that you weren't aware of before. So Senteon has effectively made the change successfully at the registry level. And after we successfully changed it, something immediately fought us and immediately changed it back. This again could be a persistent group policy that's out of date, Intune, a various registry scripts, whatever that is. But we are at least making you aware of it when before you would just keep this running to a risky state without the awareness. So what can we learn about it? Well, we can see a little bit more about when this took place, the setting, the target it was supposed to be, the read value versus the backing value. And then we can see it drifted to enabled and it's drifted to the backing value of 1. So now our engineers have a little bit more context as to what's going on with this policy. The important thing to call out is the backing value is the one that matters. We have seen reoccurring instances where Microsoft is actually making the display value the compliant choice so that both of these say disabled and they're both compliant, but the backing values are still different. Again, Senteon doesn't care a lot about the display value, but we do care about the backing value because that's where real security exists. So you can see this has failed. You kind of have two options from here. The best practice is going to be to find the source that is persistently fighting Senteon, typically a group policy, and unmanaging it from there so Senteon can have full control. This allows for scalability so that you're not managing policies in two separate places. Senteon positions as your SME so that as settings get deprecated, get removed, get added, right? We are the SME to hold your baselines to the most up-to-date standard, eliminating exposures and potential CVEs with configuration scope immediately, as opposed to having to go through complex group policy and PowerShell creation. Okay, so once you have that persistence eliminated, we will correct that policy at the next reboot or service restart of Senteon. The other scenario to fix this is, let's say this was drifted and it is actually drifting to a value that you want to keep. Very simply, we would just adjust the baseline, which I can review in over a different video, but we'd adjust the baseline to actually target the drifted value so that Senteon is now enforcing the value that it is supposed to be in. The last note to call out, these findings we're talking about were indeed called out in learning mode, and that's the point of learning mode, to identify the things that may cause drift or disruption prior to pushing it in place. So none of this really surprises me on our demo instance. The other status you may see is setting drifted corrected. So you can see here we did harden these policies, but something after we hardened it drifted it. Something changed the policy. But Senteon, because it is fighting back, changed it again, and this time we were able to keep it corrected. And we are going to give you a contextual awareness as to what's going on. So you can see again, we wanted it to be enabled, backing value of 1, and it drifted to disabled with a backing value of 0 at this time, right? So this was corrected by Senteon with no manual engagement. The last piece I want to call out, agent is resolving, simply means it is actively working on the problem. We can clear out the acknowledge corrections so that we can clear out the low priority alerts that are just informing us. And the other really cool screen to take a look at, it's definitely more exciting with larger scale, but actions required. This again is the amount of drift that has happened or hasn't been cleared out or has failed to be corrected. When you have all of your machines in the same domain, you'd expect for all these numbers to be the exact same. Senteon will quickly prove to you that Microsoft isn't as consistent as you may believe, or many don't believe already out of the gate. We just prove it here. So this will be a good way to show the real value. So Action Center is where you handle your tenant level alerting, where you really do all of the actionable work that you need to do. If you do need to push the alerts anywhere else, we do have our alert management here. And you can see all of the historical view. So you can see all the same things we just looked at. But more importantly, we can see alert forwarding. So if you want to push your alerts to your email, you are more than welcome to do that. You can assign a target email. You can go ahead and input the categories. Again, the categories that are most interesting is going to be agent uninstallation and configuration drift. And then you can configure which types of alerts related to that category you want to see. So if I wanted to see every setting drift, I would do that one. But best practice here is only to see the ones that actually fail to autocorrect, right? This is going to be best practice to put that because that is going to require some human intervention, someone to unmanage or identify what is actually causing the Senteon instance to fail on that machine. So that's going to be the most important. And of course, we should have add the agent uninstalling so that we can know if anything is trying to remove the Senteon instance. When you leave the fields blank and you save this, it will default to any. So this would be the best practice alert forwarding state, and you can save those changes if you so choose. Alert policy here, you can always have these alert retention available as well if you do need additional alerts to be pulled. The last way that you can manipulate your alerts is going to be leveraging the APIs. So we do have our API key here, and you can see all the APIs you have in place, add new ones, but more importantly, here is our Swagger documentation where you can do all of the pull calls that you are looking for, and you can handle your alerts so that you can handle getting this to your PSA or anywhere else. All right. Awesome. That was a review on alert management within Senteon, and the next tutorial we'll be diving into some more stuff. All right. Thank you so much.